Hi, welcome to this channel on magnetic energy, technology, principles, applications. This is extremely unconventional information. So we were given this information about the sun back in the 80s, and there was really nothing we could do with it. It was just so out there. We didn't tell anybody about it or anything. Many years later, a couple brilliant scientists who were doing a lot of solar research basically said the same exact things. They came to these same conclusions, which we thought was interesting. I mean, it was fascinating. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there are scientists in top secret labs who do, like solar research and everything that basically have these same ideas or very similar ideas. So in this magnetic etheric model of the universe, where gravity is not a function of mass, the sun does not have tremendous mass as it's like most conventional science believes, and it's basically it relies on etheric fuel, etheric energy that is converted into fuel and produces nuclear reactions in a pressurized system. But it's not because it contains all its fuel like a nuclear furnace. In this model, the sun is mostly hollow. I can barely say that with a straight face, and it has this gigantic basically area inside of it where it has pressure building up, and then it has the ability to convert etheric energy into nuclear reactions that then produce heat and light. The primary output of it is pulses. So it has very efficient releasing of pulses that when they hit anything substantial, they elongate into waves, and that's when they manifest as like heat and light, which is why space is cool and dark, because it's those pulses travel freely through space and they don't really manifest until they hit something of either a field or physical, something substantial. And the gravity circuit concludes, or is part of it, is in the sun. And that's so all you need is that to keep everything in place. It doesn't depend on this tremendous amount of mass and everything. So now here it gets even weirder. So with the right technology, it's very common for beings with high technology and ships and everything, shielded ships, to hang out inside of our star, but in stars in general, but in our sun. And so then they can do, there's a lot of value to that. So there's a lot of value in terms of monitoring the state of the solar system, being completely undercover, having tremendous amounts of energy that they can access. So now we recently had a visitor that came through our solar system and put on a nice little show for everyone. It was being called a comet, which is complete and utter bullshit, but it dropped off a bunch of probes that went to the sun. And it was mostly a show. The thing was putting on a show for the intelligence communities and for humanity and stuff. They didn't have to let anybody know they were doing this, but they did. And so there are a lot of probes and ships basically inside of the sun right now. And there's this whole program where they are seeding the output of the sun. So everything that comes out of the sun, whether it's the light, the heat, the pulses, it's going to be part of the pulses and part of the plasma, part of the CMEs, everything, all the radiation on every level, all of it is being seeded right now with resonant energy that will influence the transformation of what's going on our planet and throughout the solar system. And so the sun is absolutely being seeded right now to cause change and transformation. And it's really a crazy and bizarre idea, but this part of it, so that isn't the only methodology that's being used in this whole ascension program, but it's definitely one of the methodologies that's being used, and it's essentially unstoppable. And so it makes it so that it's an all-encompassing energy throughout the solar system. Nothing can stop the changes that are coming and the resonant energies that are happening. Now, will they stop? The only thing that I have had any information on, that we've had any information on, is they will prevent like kill shots, something that would completely wipe out the entire planet at this point. And so that's one thing that they would basically mitigate. But as far as like X-class flares and CMEs and stuff hitting Earth, that's all part of the program. It's part of the process. All that energy is supercharged, and it's very, very easy when you have plasma fields to add magnetic resonance signatures to those plasma fields, and to add the necessary resonant technologies for like consciousness changing, ascension, DNA modification, and all that. It's very easy to add that to magnetic nuclear reactions. And so that's partly why it's all being done inside the sun, is because it's just a very easy way to control what's happening and to make it very consistent and very methodological. And so there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but even like so-called comets that dive bomb the sun, those they have technology inside of them. They're dive bombing the sun for a reason. They're delivering things, and so then the beings and the ships inside of that, they get that delivered. It's like this is like the interstellar delivery system, and so they can then get the probes and everything that are contained inside of those so-called comets and things, and then that assists with the technology and with a program that they're doing. So I know this is super bizarre and super out there, but it's we are definitely not the only ones getting this type of information. And it's so just let me know if you have any questions, and send in comments, if you will, please, about how completely crazy this is. But the program works, and it works for a lot of reasons, and working inside of our sun and inside of stars is an extremely effective way to do this type of program. So we'll see you again next time.